Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing very well. If you are new to the channel, my name is Sophia and I make book related videos, mainly videos about mystery thriller books, but a little bit of everything. And today I am back with my August wrap up. So overall, I read 12 books in the month of August, which is much better than July when I read only 6. So doubled up July. That was great. And I had some really solid reads. I had 2 new 5-star reads, which was very exciting. And overall, if I had to wrap this month up, I would say it was the month where my love of mystery thrillers kind of came back to me, which was just so lovely. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the books that I read in the month of August. So as per usual, I will be going from lowest rated to highest rated. So starting off with my lowest rated book of the month, we have Little Crazy Children, a true crime tragedy of lost innocence by James Renner. This is a true crime novel. It is about a murder that happened in Cleveland, Ohio in the, I want to say 90s. I could be wrong about that. In a very privileged neighborhood called Shaker Heights, which coincidentally is also the neighborhood that Little Fires Everywhere is set in, if you've read that book. But basically, it is a young or a high school age girl is found murdered in the alleyway between 2 homes, and we follow all of the different suspects that they looked into at the time, her high school boyfriend, many people in their friend groups, etc., etc. This book, I ended up giving a 2 stars. There were parts of it that I enjoyed, but there were a lot of parts of it that just felt super unnecessary. So this is a very comprehensive true crime true crime book. And the reason I say that is the trial transcripts are in the book. The exact details, it is very, very technical. And just know that going into it. You go through the trial scenes, you go through all the information that they had from different scenes, the blood spatter here, the whatever, who was seen here, like it is all in here. It is very, very detailed. Sometimes that felt like kind of a lot. It felt a little bogged down, and I know that true crime books, like you want the details, you want to be the detective and see if you can figure it out and piece together the clues, but I lost the plot at some point. I kind of lost the reason why I should care and why certain things were included. I wanted the author to distill it a bit more for me. But if you like those kind of books, then this one might be one that you'll enjoy. I also felt that the end of this book had a little too much of the author's personality in it. Things that just did not have a place in the book. His feelings about elbow bumps in the COVID pandemic, just like random thoughts. And I did not think that it had a place in this story. I think it took away from it. I think it was a little bit odd that it was in there and that it did not get edited out. It was fine, although there were some parts of this that were a little offensive in my mind. I don't know. It just wasn't a great true crime book. But it was for my in-person book club that I do with my friends that live around here. And it was a lot of fun to kind of like chat through our thoughts. None of us particularly enjoyed it, but maybe you will. I don't know. So 2 stars for that one. Next up, we have Flamingo by Rachel Elliott. This one is also one I unfortunately gave 2 stars. I found this book because it was longlisted on the Women's Prize for Fiction a couple of years ago. And it's a story about 2 families that live next to each other and kind of the converging, diverging of those families. One of the families is a mother and a son, and then the other one is like mother, father, and several kids. And it's about, over the years, how things have evolved between the 2 families. I just didn't care about the characters. I don't know if it was a book problem or a me problem, but I personally felt like the characterization wasn't particularly strong. It felt like each of the characters was given a trait based on like some very like whimsical and specific interests they had, which is great. I love whimsy in books, but that just doesn't make a person a person. Like I don't know what you would do in a certain situation if you love pink flamingos. Like, that's not a particular thing, but just like an example. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't, it didn't lead me to a well-rounded understanding of the different people. And I just lost interest because of that. Like, I just didn't care at the end. My opinion is very different from the Goodreads review. So if the concept sounds interesting to you, I would pick it up. Like, it might be something that you enjoy. It just didn't really work for me. So 2 stars for that one. Next up, we have China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. This is the second book in the Crazy Rich Asian series. I gave this one a 3 stars. For a bit of context, I read Crazy Rich Asians several years ago, and I gave it 4 stars, I believe, and really enjoyed it at the time. But this one kind of takes off right where that one ended, with all or most of the characters from Crazy Rich Asians. So I really would recommend reading them back to back, because while I cared about the central like protagonist in the story, there were some surrounding characters that I didn't remember, that I didn't feel like their story was as fleshed out as it needed to be for me to pick up several years after the first book. I can't tell you much about this one because I don't want to spoil anything, as it is the second book in a series, but it's basically about a middle-class Chinese girl who becomes very embroiled in this extremely wealthy Chinese family, and we kind of go from there. I also thought the beginning of this book was quite info dumpy, but not in like a reminding me of why I should care about the characters, but like introducing new plot lines that didn't really have a lot of impact on me. As I said in my reading vlog where I read this one, I would read another Kevin Kwan book because I do like his writing. I don't think I will continue and read the final book in the Crazy Rich Asian series because I've just lost interest in this particular cast of characters. Next up, we have With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. This is his what it seems to be annual summer thriller release. And this one is set on a train in the 1950s. We follow this main character, Anna, who is trying to seek revenge for basically a lot of different people in the past have wronged her family and kind of caused total chaos in her family. And she thinks she knows who they are and is seeking them out, has given them an invitation to come and ride on this train that goes from Philadelphia to Chicago, and she is going to essentially make them pay for what they did. I thought the beginning was fun. I liked the setup. I liked learning about these different characters and why Anna thought that they had wronged her particularly. But the twist just didn't twist for me. Like, it didn't feel shocking enough. It didn't feel deep enough, and it didn't feel in line with the other Riley Sagers I've read. In terms of his book, I really did not like The House Across the Lake, and I did not love Survive the Night, I think is what it's called. And I have not read The Only One Left. But the rest of his I have enjoyed, particularly because the twists usually get me. And in this one, they just didn't really. So 3 stars. Next up, we have Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. So this is about a nanny. She is a Black nanny who babysits for a white family in Philadelphia. And one night, the family asks her to take their young daughter, Briar, to the grocery store because there's things happening at the home. They don't want the daughter there. And at the grocery store, a passerby essentially alerts the security people at the store and thinks that this child is in danger because the nanny, obviously, and the child are different races, and because she is Black. And we kind of go from there. The beginning was really great. I really enjoyed the setup. I love the commentary about race. I love the commentary about performative allyship. I just thought it could have done more. I thought the writing could have been a little bit better, honestly. Not that it was bad, but I just, like, there's so much hype surrounding this book that I wanted a little bit more from it. Like, I didn't particularly love or get a lot out of the entire reading experience like I did the first chapter. The end felt quite rushed for me, and that the characters weren't all wrapped up in a satisfying way. I did feel like there are a lot of really great discussion points. I think this would be a great buddy read, a great book club read, but I just didn't particularly enjoy the reading experience. So 3 stars for this one. Next, we have Dominicana by Angie Cruz. This is a book about a young girl from the Dominican Republic. Her family arranges for her to be married to an older man named Juan. And part of the reason is the girl, I am forgetting her name. That's never good. But Juan is basically going to give her the opportunity to move to the United States and give her, the main character, as well as the main character's family, more opportunities and just upward progression. However, Juan is not the man that the family thinks he is. He is not a very nice man at all, to say the least, and we kind of go from there. I really liked what this said about the immigrant experience. I think even though this took place in the 1960s and did touch a lot on the political unrest in the Dominican Republic as well as the US at that time, a lot of the core immigrant experience moments really translate well between then and now. I did get very frustrated at points in the book because the main character is 15 years old. And so a lot of the decisions she makes and a lot of the things that happen are frustrating. Like you want certain things for her, you care deeply about her, and those are not necessarily always the things that are going to happen. But I did think that as a coming of age story with a really complex kind of like background of an immigrant story, I thought it was pretty well done. This was a bit of a hangover book from a book that I gave 5 stars that I'll talk about later. And so it just didn't have that like propulsive feeling to it. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I think it was a pretty solid read, and I did definitely enjoy the writing style for sure. Next, we have Perfect Remains by Helen Fields. This is the first book in the Luke Kalanick series. This is a detective mystery series about Luke Kalanick, who is essentially, he's like the new man on this police force, and, you know, classic detective procedural. We have a serial killer, and we're kind of going from there. I did enjoy this one. I thought it was a classic, like had a lot of the classic scenes, classic tropes of a detective mystery. I liked the characterization of Luke, even if I didn't always love him as a character. I didn't think he always did the best things for the people around him or was the nicest to the people around him, but I did think he was very interesting. I just thought the pacing of this was just a tad off. Like the middle felt a bit slow to me. The end felt a bit rushed to me. It did feel like the first book in a series, like we were trying to set up a lot of things. But I did really enjoy it. I will read another book in the series. I thought the writing was pretty solid, and I did give it a 4 stars. Next, we have Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. This is a book that I gave 4 stars as well. It is about a 30-year-old woman who is in the dating app roulette. She finally connects with a guy that she really, really likes, and unfortunately, he ghosts her, and we kind of pick up from there. But not only does this book have to do with like ghosting in that sense and kind of a commentary on modern dating, it also is about the many ghosts in her life, the changing relationships, the changing dynamics, people becoming parents, her parents getting older. And I thought it was a really kind of clever look at a time that I am living in myself. It was very relatable. The scenes really, really felt like things that I've been through and I've lived through, which was very funny. And yeah, overall, this was a really, really solid read. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read The Moving Finger by Agatha Christie. I am not going to tell you what I rated it. I will say it generally fits in this part. It was a favorable read for me, but there will be a video coming out soon as I do Miss Marple reviews for all of the Miss Marple books that I read, so keep an eye out for that. Next, we have The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. This was our Paws and Pages book club book of August. I've lost track. For the last 2 months, and I will link our live show, although I was rewatching it the other day and there are a few connection issues and a little bit of lagging, so I apologize for that, but I will link it if you're interested in seeing our very detailed thoughts about that one. This is a book about a 19-year-old man named Hai, who at the beginning is essentially trying to jump off a bridge to end his life. And this older widow, I think she's 80 at the beginning of the book, named Grazina, kind of saves him and prevents him from doing that. And they strike up a really strong friendship, and we look into the dynamic between them. He ends up living with her for a while, and you follow Hi's life, you follow Grazina's life and her family. She is struggling with dementia, as well as several issues from her past as well. And I love Ocean Vuong's writing. I find it so beautiful. He writes a lot of poetry, and you can tell by how like descriptive and beautiful his prose is that he has written a lot of poetry before. I loved the discussion in here about found family, how Hi and Grazina really grow to love each other and support each other, sometimes not so much support each other. It is a very complex relationship, but one that I think is filled with a lot of complexity and is really just jumps off the page. There are a lot of other parts to this story, so it's not just about that relationship, but that was the one that kind of jumped out at me the most. It was just a tad little bit dragged out in a few areas, so I only gave it a 4.5 stars, not a 5 stars, but I did absolutely love it. I thought it was a phenomenal work of fiction, and I would certainly read another book by Ocean Vuong in the future. Next, we have We Are All Guilty Here by Karin Slaughter. So this is a new book in for her, and it's the first book in a mystery thriller series, the North Falls series. It basically takes place in this very small town in, I believe, Georgia. And at the beginning of the story, it's like a hot summer's night, and 2 teenage girls go missing from the fireworks display night. Like the whole town is there watching the fireworks, just enjoying a summer evening, and 2 teenage girls go missing. And we kind of follow that investigation. The main character is Emmy Clinton. She is a police officer in the North Falls Police Department, and the sheriff is her father. The Clintons are kind of a prominent family in this small town, and you go through like the ebbs and flows of the investigation. Another detective procedural. I really, really loved this book. I was so drawn into so many of the different characters in here. I think that this series and this like universe, if you will, has so much room to grow and so many interesting places that it could go to. I thought that the mystery was very interesting, and I did predict part of the reveal, but there was also another part that was quite surprising to me, but realistic. And I just really loved it. It was very propulsive. It was an excellent read. I'm in this series until the very end, and I would highly recommend it if you're looking for another like small town detective procedural. So 4.5 stars for that one. And finally, we're on to my 2 5-star reads of the month. First of all, we have Careless by Christy Capes. There is a dedicated review up on my channel for this one if you're interested in all of my detailed thoughts. But this is a story about a 15-year-old girl who lives in London. Her name is Bess, and she is in the foster care system. She is with a foster care placement, but even though she has all these care workers and she's in the care system and all these people who are supposed to care about her, they don't really. And in turn, because she has been forgotten, left out, her behavior is often described as careless and reckless. So hence the title, which I think is just perfect. At the beginning of the book, you learn that Bess is pregnant, and we kind of flash back and learn about how that happened. And then at the end, we kind of go forward and figure out like what she ends up doing. I loved this so immensely. I cared about Bess so much. I thought that this was just propulsive in a way that I have not experienced in a while. I had to know what was going to happen. I was just like enthralled, like could not put this book down. I'm not going to get too far into this here, but if you're interested in kind of this little tidbit that I'll tell you about, check out my review. But I think this did a lot of really interesting things with genre and age group within this book. Like, who was this book really for? Which I really enjoyed that kind of discussion and thought process and thinking through that. But yeah, it was just incredible. I will absolutely read everything that Christy Capes has written. It was perfect. It was 5 stars. Amazing. And the last book, and I think my favorite book of the month, I don't know, between this and Careless, it's so close, is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This, is a decadent, beautiful mystery thriller novel that I will never forget about and I thought was absolutely perfect. So it is about a mom whose son goes missing in the middle of the night, disappears from his crib. He's very young. 1-year-old? I don't remember. I think younger than that. And it's 1 year later. She has not been able to sleep. She has not been able to function. She is desperately trying to look for her son. And we kind of pick up from there. She is not the most reliable narrator, so definitely that is a trope. But this book is about motherhood. It's about trusting instincts and trusting yourself. I loved the atmosphere and the rich, beautiful, descriptive writing. The twists were great at the end. I did not predict them coming. I just thought this was stunning. Like, I am also in Stacy Willingham books till the end. I'm reading one at the moment, and I just had another one delivered yesterday. So I should be up to date with her work shortly, but this was perfect. 5-star read. All right. So those are all the books that I read in the month of August. I would really love to know what you read. Have you read any of the books that I chatted about here? And with that, I will see you guys very soon with another video. Bye.